It is Midweek Extra. We are in association with NordVPN. I am John Gibbons and I'm joined by Jack, by Mo and by Craig. And I've got 3 smiling boys for 3 Liverpool goals and 3 Liverpool points. And just feels good, Jack. Coming in today with a nice win to talk about. Just feels lovely.
Mate, everything feels bright. We were saying this before, the sky was better today. It was raining and it wasn't arse. Like, the chair felt lighter. I thought I was going to start walking, honestly, mate. Unbelievable having Liverpool wins in it. Unbelievable. I forgot what it was like.
I was going to say, did you bounce in? And then it was like, you've got the suspension on the wheels that can sort of do that coming on. But we did all gliding, bouncing, however it was, the sunshine. Someone asked me how it was before, and I was like, brilliant.
It's almost like we forgot how this feels to just, and not even just a win, but just an absolutely easy win in terms of there was no real drama, no real threat. It was a 90-minute performance. Everyone seemingly played well, scored 3 goals, didn't concede any, no bad moments. Just like, just real relaxing game of football to watch. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period where Marseille have a bit of a go in the second half, but I'm even glad we did because they showed they're a good team and we dealt with it well, we defended it well, but I thought what was important is we always retain that threat. So there was a period about 55, 60 where it was 1-0 where you weren't quite sure he was going to get the next goal because Marseille were having a real go and obviously Liverpool conceded at a similar time against Burnley, so you're always a bit worried, but Liverpool looked more dangerous and then actually sort of got the second one because I think they had better attacking players on the pitch and then went and won a third. But I'm glad they had to come through that little bit of a period. Obviously for the whole game, the atmosphere was, everyone talked about it. So it's coming through a tricky game, but also just coming through that period, getting that goal and then having a nice, I mean, like Moses, we know how to, it's not like we haven't won, but we haven't won where we've been able to relax last 10 minutes ago. Oh, this is nice.
No, massively. And look, it's, those periods within games in the Champions Leagues are always going to happen because you're playing the best teams in Europe. And, I'm really happy that Liverpool come through it. And it's funny this season, isn't it, with the Champions League? Because it's been a release from everything else. They feel lighter. And obviously part of that is the way in which teams are going to set up against them. Arne Slot mentions it in his press conference afterwards, where it is a little bit open. They're going to want to play football, play out from the back and all of that. And that obviously suits Liverpool more. But it just feels a lot more enjoyable for the players and of course for ourselves. I was looking at it and like, it just feels like it's almost completely counter on what's happening in the Premier League. So one of the things I noticed was that I thought that's another set piece Liverpool have scored. So I thought, I'll have a look at this. Liverpool have the best set piece record in the Champions League this season. 6 scored, none conceded. And it's like, but then you see what's happened in the Premier League, and again, it's stylistically different. It's a lot more difficult to, some of the teams that you're coming up with in terms of how good they are at set pieces, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just made up they got the win, and I'm made up, as Mo said, they got the performance, because I think that was an important thing for them, for the confidence, for the feel good, and for them hopefully to take that into the next game in the league.
Yeah, I mean, that leads me on nicely. Jack, I want to talk in part 1 about why we think they did play a lot better, because I think there's a variety of reasons, and if you ask the manager, and people do, he talks about low blocks. He says, we face this in the Premier League, it's different in the Champions League. And I think that's part of the reason, but I almost feel like he's doing himself a disservice. I think he's doing the team a little bit disservice because I think it's more than that. But what do you think it is that the reason why we're seeing these better performances in Europe at the moment than we're necessarily seeing in the Premier League? Because it can't just be what the opposition are doing.
Yeah, I think there's a few different factors for me. I think there's so much talk about the way we've played in the league. We're title holders now, we're going with top 4. I think there just feels like a cloud around the league. The Champions League, as you talk about, feels like a release. Like we've got something to fight for here. We can win the Champions League. A lot of the players are proven in Europe. So you've got like Vert, who was good against European-style football teams. The low block we're always going to face in the league. We faced it for years. Like it's something that we're going to have to get through. But yesterday just seemed like a really mature performance. It was organised, it was brilliant, it was being 2-0 and not feeling like we're going to lose 3-2 all the time. Like it just felt like a really mature Liverpool old school performance, and I really enjoyed it.
What do you think the difference is, Mo, between what we're seeing last night and what we're seeing in the last 4 Premier League games that have all been draws?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I do think mentality comes into it. I do think that they go into it with a different... Knowing that they've been all right in this competition has helped them going into the next one thinking, it's all right, we've played terrible in the league and then come into the Champions League and look like ourselves. So we can shake off whatever bad results happened previously and go again. But the tactics does help. I do think, particularly the way the Marseille wanted to play, it was almost like Slot knew what they were going to do and said to lads, look, when they do this, we do that, and it played out perfectly. Whereas sometimes in the league, we can know what their opponent's going to do, but we aren't as good as going against it. But then I don't think it's just that either, because as Craig mentioned, the set piece thing, I mean, like that's got nothing to do with low blocks. Like their set pieces are the same in the league and the Champions League.
I mean, you didn't have the lower block on the free kick as opposed to that's the lowest block.
No one is not going to do a drafting splitter, are they? Like, there can be a drafting splitter in every game.
Every game. But I mean, even just the confidence to be able to say, okay, I know that this might work, so I'm going to try it. And I mean, they were talking in commentary about the confidence of Szoboszlai to basically say to Salah, nah, this is mine, even though it might have suited their left foot. But I knew that was going to happen. Like, I knew that he was going to take it, even when there was four of them around him. Like, yeah, this is. And he proved me right. But I don't know if it's just the combination of the tactics and the mindset why Liverpool are doing better. But the interesting thing for me is with Slot was he keeps saying, I know exactly why Liverpool are better in this game. I know exactly why they're not consistent and all that kind of stuff. So there's almost a clarity of thought from the manager still saying, look, I understand why it's tough here and why it's not tough here. And that almost has given the players confidence to say, okay, well, we're still kind of in control of things, if you see what I mean, even though when we're in the league it's going to be tougher. So I think all of that kind of comes together to see why they're actually better in the Champions League. And by the way, if we're better at playing good teams than bad teams,
it's great news for the rest of the Champions League. Exactly. No disrespect to the Burnley, but I don't think they're making the semi-finals. Not this year, lads. Not this year.
Feels like you've solved the most difficult part, doesn't it? I think a change of environment helps. I think the literal flying out of England and getting out of there and going to somewhere new and new stadiums with you know. Sometimes in your work, if you're struggling with different things, then you move on to a different project that's like ignites something new in you. And I feel like that. I do mostly think it is opposition, though. I think the standard at which they're going to come up against in the Premier League week in, week out is going to be higher than a lot of the teams that, and that feels like a weird thing to say about the Champions League, but teams like Marseille as an example, and obviously that we don't include teams like Burnley in that, but you can see how the way in which Marseille play, the way in which they want to play it out of the back, it meant that Liverpool could press much better. I was watching Liverpool and go, fucking hell, the pressing's a lot more on point this time, but obviously it's a lot easier to press when teams aren't going long and teams are like the way we always know De Zerbi to play, wanting to play it out from the back. So I think that is sort of key to it, really.
I think as well it's a personnel thing. I think in terms of who's available at the moment, you know, the manager's made changes, he made tactical changes. He talked about it again this week with reference to Mo Salah coming back. I feel like I needed to do something to plug some of these gaps. There's been some games since then where, so this isn't the first time we've seen a narrow midfield, but I think when we saw it a few weeks ago, we didn't. I think maybe Joe Gomez is playing right back or whatever, and I thought this would look great with flying fullbacks, but we didn't have them available. Kerkez was probably available; he's been available for a long time. But I think we were playing Kerkez and Gomez at that time, and I'm thinking, oh, this setup is perfect for the fullbacks we bought, and you know, to see through, and we got them. So we got the narrow midfield, which I think has worked well in the past, but with the exploding fullbacks and then also with the idea of how we've been looking at it this week, the last few weeks, we've been frustrated with some of these league performances. But in my back of the mind, I was always thinking, yeah, but if you throw another forward in, I don't think Mo Salah was great, but just by having another forward on the pitch, frees it up for Ekitike a little bit. And so it just looked like a more balanced team. As soon as it landed, I thought, that looked, and listen, I've looked at team selections this season and thought that looks all right, and it hasn't worked out. So you never win a game on paper, but when I looked at the team, I just thought this looks more balanced. And I think what this manager's proven is when he's got really good tools and when he's got the right tools, he can make something fantastic out of it.
I think for me, this looked like the team Slot wanted when he bought Frimpong and he brought Kerkez and he got Ekitike and he...
And Wirtz.
And Wirtz as well. He's coming into the form, arguably one of the better players has been over the last couple of months. Yeah, as you say, having them two as the fullbacks going forward, it looked really sharp, looked good. We were kind of lucky that Gomez was fit. Because if Gomez isn't fit and Canate is out as well, then we're also struggling. I think when we have we have Kerkez and then we have Gomez, we can't really go with these flying fullbacks because we've held back a little bit. I think, yeah, for me it's a really, really controlled performance. We looked attacking. I think Salah brings out defenders to give space to Ekitike as well. and he looks a threat every time Ekitike gets the ball. He never enough scored every single ball that he got. So yeah, for me it was the classic slot performance that I hopefully wanted when we had the transfers that we did.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of talk this season about balance, about the balance. Maybe we're too attacking at first, and maybe we're too defensive at other times, and that's tactical, obviously, but it can just be about personnel as well. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as he's able to pick a balanced team, the team looks a lot more balanced.
Absolutely, and I think the Salah thing is really interesting as well, because we've seen Salah at his best predominantly when he's started out wide and then tried to cut in, whereas this time he was very much narrow from the beginning and always had a Frimpong on the outside of him, which meant that defensively he wasn't as responsible for the fullback. So if the times when he wasn't tracking back, it wasn't as much of a problem because you still had those 4 midfielders in central positions who could kind of shuttle across. It looked like, as Jack said, it looked like it suited everybody. It looked like this was probably what the plan was, which is interesting because Slot generally likes to play with wingers. And pretty much his entire managerial career has always been with wingers. So I wonder maybe that's been part of why it's taken so long to get to this kind of balance, because it's almost him having to go against what he naturally wants to do, but it's seeing what the players he's got at his disposal are good at, and he's had to find a way to kind of get the best out of them. But yeah, you'd imagine, even as other players start to come back, this kind of system would suit almost everybody. So it'll be interesting to see if we can able to do that. Whether or not it suits every opponent, that might be a different matter.
Yeah, but it's the clarity of thought does, I think, help. Mo used that phrase before, and I liked it because, we're going to come up against different opponents, but it feels to me that for the manager, when he's able to come up with a bit of a plan of, listen, this is how we're going to go against it. He's talked in the past about particularly the Premier League. There's almost no point watching the videos of anyone we play against because they do something completely different against us. And by completely different, I think he pretty much means, sit back and just defend. He knew Marseille weren't going to do that, just like he knew Arsenal weren't going to do that. And Neil, on the post-match show yesterday, argued we need to group Arsenal with Inter Milan and games like that. And I agree with them. And because we always treated that Arsenal one like a European way. We went down the day before, which surprised me a bit because it was a late kickoff. But I think he was trying to sort of view it like that. I think he likes having them all together. I'm sure they're having meetings where there's a lot of clarity, to use that word again, from everyone about how they're going to play. This is what the opposition are going to do, and this is where you're going to find space. And when we're able to do that, I think it does really help us. And listen, not every team's going to play against like Marseille, but I don't think that necessarily matters, because I think if there's a bit more expectation, and I think there will be through the Champions League. Listen, every now and again, someone will throw a surprise, and we need to be better at dealing with that on the pitch and including the coach. But I think the higher up you go and the better teams you play, the more they've got a defined style, and they're not going to change that for the opposition. And I think that should help us.
Yeah, no, massively, and we've seen that through the season. Even you think of the Frankfurt game as an example, where it was such an open game, and Liverpool put them to the swords. This hasn't been a worry with Liverpool this season whenever they come up against a team that are going to play like that. Obviously, they get beat by Man City away from home, and we talked about that at the time, that can just happen against these teams. But by and large, you think of Real Madrid, you think of Inter Milan, you think of these teams where when they are going to play football, Liverpool are able to play football, and Liverpool are going to be better than most sides they come up against, and they're able to enact their plan, and you're able to see the wingers driving into space because there is space and all of these things. The issue for Liverpool is what Arne Slot said in his post-match, which is the low block and having a plan to counter that and to be able to beat that, because that's the thing they've struggled with. I'm excited about Liverpool in this competition, and then you go to Anfield and watch them, and it's almost like you're sitting down to watch a different team, different proposition, and you have sort of different expectations for the style you're going to see and the outcome of the result. Last night I sat down and tweeted before the game, I was like, I fancy us here because we're away from home. It's the Champions League. There's going to be space, and they just look lighter, as I said, from being in that competition earlier on. So when you look across the teams in the table and where Liverpool are, they sit fourth, the teams above them, I'm not looking at them and scared of them. Like I fancy Liverpool in this competition this season.
Yeah, I think we all do, and that's the nice thing about us in Europe as well is that, you know, when Craig was talking there, it reminded me a bit of 04-05. That was Rafa's first team, and you watch us. I remember where Crystal Palace, Andy Johnson dives and win a pen run, but we're just rubbish. And then, like, I think on the Wednesday we beat Juventus or something like that. It was that sort of thing. Listen, it's not as extreme as that this season, and we all hope that they could sort out the league from here, of course. But we are a different beast in Europe, and I don't think anyone will fancy us.
They're playing unbelievable football. You look at the Frankfurt result, the Marseille, we've got Madrid, we've got these, and then you go into Leeds and you're doing what we did there, or the Wolves game or the Burnley game, and it doesn't feel like we're as connected as you talk about. It does feel like two opposite teams sometimes. I think the European run is what I'm pinning my hopes on for the rest of my mental health this season. For me, that's going to be a big part of it. Because you almost want a full season where Liverpool are just shit all season. We go, right, we'll chalk it off and go. But we can play a really aggressive attacking style and mature performances when we're away from home in big stadiums and atmospheres that are built for Liverpool's lineage in the Champions League. Why can't we do that in the league? And that's a big puzzle that we need to figure out.
People don't like it when Arnestott talks about low blocks. They also don't like it when he talks about luck. I'm going to talk about luck as well, because it is nice that the opposition didn't score from their first shot. And so in that period I talked about before with Craig, when it's 1-0 and it's a little bit in the balance, and they had one opportunity where,
on the break.
where Virgil gets left on his own, and Gravenberch gets back really well and puts a bit of pressure on the shot, so fair play to him. I've no idea where Joe Gomez was. I think he tried to win it high, which he did a lot all game, but left us a little bit in the lurch there. It's not a great chance. It's probably fairly low on XG, but it's the kind of chance that's been flying into the top corner. So you don't like talking about luck as fans. You know, we don't like it. You know, you say you've got to eliminate luck, but it is a bit of a part of it, because 1-0's a different game. If the Burnley forward, you know, drags it wide and then we go on and score a second, we maybe win that game 3-0. And so these big moments do happen in games, and maybe sometimes, like the set piece thing, that's just completely reversed in Europe. Maybe we just get a little bit more luck as well.
Listen, we were just talking about 2005. There were plenty of lucky moments in that run, wasn't there? And you're right, it's something that people don't like to hear about, particularly over a long course of time, because you think that if you're good enough, then eventually you can eliminate that luck and it doesn't matter as much. But each individual moment, each individual game on its own, there are a few moments there that go one way and go the other way. I keep thinking back to the Brighton game at home, where you look on it now, it was a comfortable 2-0 win, but Brighton had some big chances that they wasted. And they will come away from that thinking, we could have got something out of that. So you can't just completely dismiss luck. You're meant to be good enough to get over it, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
And I think that from Liverpool's point of view, the fact that they were able, because that chance for Marseille came seconds after Liverpool should have made it 2-0. So
you hit the post,
So had that gone in for Marseille,
like kicker,
it would have felt like they scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
And I was thinking all through the game, although I said it was comfortable earlier, I was conscious of the fact that Marseille were a goal down against Newcastle, looked rubbish, suddenly got a goal back, and the game completely changed. Crowd got into it, they got up for it. It was a very different game second half that game. So I was conscious of the fact that even when it was 2-0, if they'd have got it to 2-1, then it would have been a very, very tough situation. So, yeah, that moment was massive. But the problem with talking about luck is that we can't really control it. So it's almost as if it's that you can only talk or really concern yourself with the things that are in your control. And that is potentially making sure that you take enough of your chances to mean that luck can be eliminated, but it's not always that easy.
That's exactly it. It's if you feel unlucky a lot of the time, then surely it's not just luck. It's the issues around the luck. You know, there might have been a moment of where a player, it goes in off his arse and that's unlucky. But if Liverpool haven't put their chances away or have been too sort of slow and pronders to create chances, then the luck's gone against you because you haven't set up the team in the right way, or you haven't taken the chances in the way you should.
So the luck happens that the goal goes in, but it's not unlucky the fact that goal becomes decisive.
Yeah.
Because of all of what you've not done elsewhere. That's the thing, really, isn't it?
And I just want to give a huge shout out to NordVPN for partnering with us for the rest of the season. Really appreciate their support. There's loads of fantastic reasons to subscribe to NordVPN. There's that extra internet security, which is really important, especially if you're logging in public Wi-Fi. You're an international sports star like Jack, you're here, there and everywhere, and you want that extra protection, that peace of mind. NordVPN can offer that for you. You can get it on over 10 devices as well, so all your different things that you might have in your family, and one subscription covers that as well. But one of the main reasons I know lots of you enjoy it, and why lots of you have signed up, is that ability to change your virtual location with the click of a button. So just imagine you've been enjoying Traitors, you've been loving it, you're hooked, it's the final on Friday, but you're playing a tournament in Switzerland, Jack, you don't know what to do. You're thinking, I've paid for the BBC, I pay my licence fee, I'm all above board, but I can't watch it. What something like NordVPN allows you to do is click your virtual location from where you are to the UK, and you can enjoy the Traitors finale like I will on Friday night. And so that is the beauty of it. There's other things that sometimes are going on in the country, in UK, that you can't necessarily get, that aren't available in other countries as well, and it allows you to do that. But I am thinking a lot about Traitors at the moment, so I thought I would lead on that one. But NordVPN.com/TAW if you want to get involved. There's a fantastic discount just for you on there. That web address again, NordVPN.com/TAW. Right, just some individual performances. I thought the fullbacks were great. Let's start with them. I thought both of them played really well. They've both had difficult starts to the Liverpool career in different ways. Frimpong's had a lot of injuries. Kerkez, criticism for his performances, but both of them been good for a while now, and particularly last night.
Yeah, I absolutely love Frimpong. I love him. He's loads of fun. He's loads of fun to watch. He's more decisive than I thought he was going to be, and that little bit of like speed that he's able to take by a man, where he sort of like slows the play down a little bit. He sort of drops the shoulder and then he goes past him. You see it with the goal, but you've seen it countless times since he's come back into the side, and it's been the thing that we've felt as if we've been sort of missing. You know, someone going on the outside and taking on a man, and how that can sort of turn Liverpool, turn it into a dangerous attack. And then also just like in a game like that where we're talking about it being open and against strong opposition, you know, he's able to get back really quickly. You know, he's up and down the pitch, and so is you know, that pace to get back in and help the centre backs. You know, is also crucial. It'll be crucial in the European away like that. Kerkez has been really strong the past few games, and you know, I was worried about him at the beginning of the season. You know, obviously he's very young. He's 22 years old, and you never want to sort of write off a young player like that. I was worried about his intelligence, his in-game intelligence, and his decision making. And you know, what you see and what you have seen over the past few games is someone who's really strong in one-on-one, who's really strong driving forward with the ball, and can get up and down. And you know, one of the things that I was frustrated with at the beginning of the season was what the fullbacks seem to have been asked to do in terms of standing on the ball and playing it inside. And I felt that all the fullbacks, their strengths were bombing up and down. You know, Robertson's maybe sort of a few years past been able to do that on a week-by-week basis, but you've signed these two fullbacks, and you've got another one who's now injured, who are really strong at getting up and down the wing, and Kerkez is benefiting from him sort of being let off the leash. Obviously, again, you know, it's the opposition, there's more space and all of that. He's able to do that, but I made up for him, you know, because you know, the past few games will be real confidence for him going into the rest of the season. And for Frimpong, I just can't wait to watch him play every week. Yeah. Like, I'm just excited by him, excited by his smile, excited that there's output, excited that, you know, it's either an assist or last night's an OG. You know, he gets the goal the other week. I think he's going to be really important this season, and he's just an enjoyable player to watch.
Well, I really liked. Well, I say what I really liked. I liked loads about both of their play, but what I really appreciated last night, when I maybe haven't seen loads of, say, not every season, how much they were involved in our build-up play. It felt like one criticism ahead of Kerkez, which I thought was fair, was like he feels like he's playing his own game. I thought last night he was, you know, little 1-2s, and then he was suddenly leading the counter-attack and things like that. Frimpong is getting a really good understanding with the players around him, and so if teams are going to impress us or come impress us, then I think they showed last night that they can be involved in these quick 1-2s, and then suddenly they're away. And once they're away, you're not catching them, which is the brilliant thing about them. And so, you know, the eye-catching stuff's brilliant. You know, the Frimpong assist, you know, Kirkes how well he battles. He's had a tough game last night up against their right winger, but it's all the sensible stuff and all the team play and all that. Oh, right, this is how we build from the back forward that they're involved in now. I'm almost enjoying as much as the blistering pace.
Yeah, because those are the things that are repeatable. Those are the things that are sustainable. And that's how they kind of build their own character within the team framework. Because we were talking before about what they've been asked to do and how it felt like a little bit alien to both of them. So now we're seeing them being able to do things that they're more natural to do. And now we're being able to see those natural gifts being built into the team framework. So yeah, it really makes a difference when, if you're a midfielder, specifically someone who's got like the technical ability of a McAllister or a Szoboszlai, and you've got two guys pressing you, if you can just know that you can just turn the ball around the corner into space, and one of them will be running towards that, and you also get that understanding to know that they know that once you've got the ball, they can make a run because they know that you're good enough to find them. And once those kind of symbiotic relationships start coming out, it's going to be so much harder for other teams to play against them. I'm not going to try and bring everyone down because we're all very happy, but I do think having space in front of Kirkes made a big difference.
Yeah.
And when I say space in front of him, I mean no one standing in front of him. When I mean no one standing in front of him, I mean a specific guy who doesn't like passing to him standing in front of him. But how it looks when he comes back into the side, which is inevitable, I think will be a big thing. But for last night, it was really, really well.
Because we're impatient as football fans, like one of the things we forget is that a lot of the time when a player goes into a new team like this or a new job, you have to find the confidence and build the confidence over time. And he obviously has a rocky start. I was reading Andy Robertson's player tribune, and it's really interesting at the beginning where he talks about his first 6 months at Liverpool. He was a Liverpool player. He was wearing the tracksuit. He was training with all of these footballers. He didn't feel like a Liverpool player. He hadn't that like sense of belonging because he hadn't built the confidence as a Liverpool player yet. I think the past sort of 4 or 5 games, particularly for Kirkes, particularly games in the Champions League where he won't have played in before, he'll have been building that confidence, and those around him will be reminding him of that and sort of ensuring that he begins to feel more comfortable. But I think you can see someone who now sees himself as a Liverpool player rather than someone who's signed from Bournemouth and is finding his way a bit.
Yeah, and look at the comparison with Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson got to take his time because madly Albion Moreno was playing out of his skin at the time, which was great for Robbo. So he probably didn't feel like it at the time, but it helped him, get that sense of belonging. Kirkes has been thrown straight in, and he's much younger than what Robertson was when he arrived. Someone pointed out to me yesterday that, when Kirkes signed for Liverpool, the same age, Andy Robertson's at Dundee United. Yeah. He's able to, he's not even moved to the Premier League yet, to go to Holland. So we're having to sign players younger now. We're signing them younger, and I think that's a necessity. I don't think the ideal, we'll wait till the 24, kind of things will, and you've seen them go to City for 350 grand a week or whatever. So I think you're having to get in a little bit earlier, and as a result, you're having to be a little bit more patient with them. And then the fact that the team's not playing too well, and he's struggling with the relationship with the guy in front of him, all that leads to the fact that I think he deserved a little bit more patience than what he got. But I'm delighted for him, and it's showing a real strength of mentality that he's got, which he'll need to succeed at a good club like Liverpool, because he's had this determination that he will make it, and it's not, he hasn't achieved anything yet, but he's playing really well.
Definitely, yeah. I think when we first signed him, everyone was raving about, he's Premier League ready. Going from Bournemouth, no disrespect to Bournemouth, to Liverpool is a different beast. You're talking big European night, you're talking social media, you're talking the whole lineage that Liverpool has together. It's a different beast than playing for Bournemouth.
There's 4 times as many people go and watch them at home. Yeah, because the ground's tiny.
But like for him to come into an environment as you're 22, all this pressure on him of saying, he's done this, he's done that, he's going to be this. To watch him free, I'm hoping last night was a bit more of a rite of passage. Going to an away European night, putting the performance that it does. Being the last few weeks, he's really grown into that position. I've been critical of him the last couple of months when we first signed, but for me, he's been the biggest turnaround that we've had over the last couple of weeks. And I also love Frimpong as well. I'm in the same boat as you. He just seems like a class pint, doesn't he? That's what I just love. Like. I always loved him since Ekatike took his shirt off and he ran over and told him off. That was the best bit for me. I think he just feels like a little...
like that.
Yeah, he was like, what are you doing? Like an angry mum who was like, get your top back on, what you're doing. Like, he was like, that mentality. And they both look a nightmare for the wingers and defenders going forward, and that's what we really need as Liverpool.
Centre halves are great. It's the old partnership that the boys are back in town. But as president of the Joe Gomez fan club,
Yes,
I do want to come to you. He was brilliant.
Never in doubt. Absolutely never in doubt. No, genuinely, it's funny because I did an article recently talking about some of the fringe players, and some people came back and be saying how hard it is for fringe players to be on the bench for ages and then come straight back in and be expected to perform at the highest level. Joe's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And I just think that he makes it look so simple. And whether he's being asked to be a fullback, or whether he's asked to be a centre-back, he looks like he's in tune to exactly what the position demands. And he was a lot more, you mentioned before about him coming out to try and win the ball. He was notably more aggressive, more front foot, trying to go out into midfield and try and press them than he has done normally. But again, it suited him perfectly. And then those passes, like the pass that he plays for the third goal, the goal doesn't happen. Everyone raves about Szoboszlai's little touch into Gravenberch, but the ball to him is the ball that makes the goal, because he punches it in through two different lines of defenders straight to Szoboszlai's feet, and his passing range is so underrated.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously we all hope that Konate's back in the fold as soon as possible, but man, he can play. And I think if anyone ever thought, oh, well, because of injuries, he's not as good, he's still as good. Just stay fit, Joe. But love him,
And it does kind of frustrate you a little bit that this is the first time, you know, we've seen him at centre half in a meaningful game so far this season. He had that little run at full back, and then he ends up getting the injury, and the manager's like, well, see, this is why I can't play him. But that was a run of games. I think he plays 4 in 5, you know, for Liverpool, and then the fourth or the fifth, depending on which way you want to look at it, he ends up sort of getting injured. So I accept that we can't just decide, yeah, he's first choice centre half now for the rest of the season. But I do think there's earlier in the season that there was the odd game where he could have just brought Konate out and just brought Gomez in. Maybe we didn't want to do that because he thought, well, if Gomez plays really well, then everyone will just want me to carry on. Or maybe he's thinking, well, this is the one where Konate, you know, breaks through. It's hard. It's easy for me. It's tough for the manager to get that. But I wonder whether the manager might be thinking, do you know what, there's the odd midweek in October or in November where I could have just thrown Joe Gomez in, got a really good performance out of him, and then maybe got a better performance out of Konate at the weekend.
Yeah, it's the catch-22 that we've always had with Joe Gomez, really, and I agree with Mo there. Like that ball through the line, the vertical ball, he's always been so good at that, and he gets Liverpool away last night. It's funny with him because I agree with you, but then I remember me and you sitting watching, I think it was a Southampton game where Joe comes in and he's centre back and he's awful. Like he's the worst player in the pitch, and Leone's beside him, and Leone looks like 10 times the player.
Come on, lad.
He looks like the scene. So, you know, if Slot's here and he's listening to us, he's going, yeah, but I give him this opportunity, and then, but then, you know, with Joe Gomez, you've always sort of been able to put him in, and he'll throw in a big performance like that, and then you get excited, and it's this like vicious cycle of like, oh, he's an option, and then there's the injury, and I love the man, and I love what he's done at Liverpool, and I love, like, you know, how he's stayed here, and how he's wanted to sort of fight for his place, and at different times he's gone almost sort of 6 months without really getting a look in, doesn't get much of a look in last season. I've loved nothing more than for the story to potentially end this season whereby, you know, he plays a massive part in Liverpool winning number 7, and him sort of, you know, being able to be that third centre back. We're going to need him, like, you know, with Bradley being out as well, we're going to need him. There's going to be moments for him or minutes for him if he's able to stay fit. It's just can he stay fit? And I think the manager and the staff behind the scenes probably know a little bit more on that, and they're probably looking at him and going, no, we can't play him 3 times a week. We probably can't play him 2. But as ever, he shows that when called upon in a big moment, in a big match, on the biggest stage, he's able to deliver for you.
Do you want to join the Joe Gomez fan club?
I think for me with the centre backs, Van Dijk also looked like he played a lot better, knowing that he didn't have to worry about Konate being there, or Gomez will always give you like a 6, 7 out of 10. The way Van Dijk played, there was one ball where he was down the line, he just shouted him out of play and looked like he had full control. Is that because he's got more time behind him? Is that because he's not worried about Konate making mistakes? He looked well more organised. There was only one ball that I remember coming over, and he looked a bit disjointed when it bounced. And we've had a lot of them this season where it just didn't look like he gelled together. when they had I think Van Dijk did an interview after the match, and the person interviewing said, "Oh, is it interesting to play with a new partnership?" And he said, "I've played with Joe many times over the years. It's not a new partnership." And I think we always forget that, don't we? Where when he comes in and out, he's actually played with him thousands of times, and we've got a good relationship together. So, yeah, Viva la Joe Gomez. That's what I would go with.
I would love to get Virgil in a quiet moment and genuinely ask him who is his favourite partner.
Yeah.
For sure. I reckon he'd say Joe.
Yeah, I do think as well.
I mean, he loved Joe Matip.
Well, exactly. We all know how much he loved Joe Matip.
I'd say on the pitch, I reckon he'd say Joe.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. And the one last thing about the injuries, if Slot is genuinely thinking he's going to need to use him, I know that obviously the Connor situation kind of clouds it, but I just think playing a fullback for Liverpool is asking a very different job than playing centre half.
Yeah.
You're using different muscles and in a different way. So I think if he does want to keep him fit, my advice would be keep him at centre half.
Yeah.
Midfield then, I thought it was the best collective midfield performance since Arsenal. I thought individually they played well, and yeah, it was just good to see, and especially the attacking too. It was a really interesting performance from Szoboszlai because he did a lot of the things that people were critical from over the weekend. Like, he was brilliant in transition. There was one early where he wasn't great, but then after that, you know, he was the creative 10 that plenty of people have, including me, have said that they're not sure he can be. You know, he's good at transition. He's creating goals. He obviously scored it, which we knew he could take a free kick. But it was a lot of the stuff last night from Szoboszlai that maybe we hadn't seen, which was fantastic, and he was a real creative 10 for us.
He's had quite the 10 days, hasn't he? Really, like he scores one of the goals of the season. Where I'm sat there thinking that is unbelievable, and then he obviously has this moment where he's basically being called disrespectful, which I don't think it was. I think he just like has this like brain fart. You know,
I love that someone went, he wouldn't do that against Real Madrid, and he's gone, no.
I absolutely.
Mad me, you know.
Sometimes in football you just do something mad, and you sort of see the what happens. You see the outcome and is negative for Dom, and then obviously he has the missed pen. And then he does what he does last night, and that's the moment that like ignites the game really for Liverpool. That's the one where, you know, it's a brilliant free kick. It's just about got the right amount on it to get it in the goal. But I really like the midfield. But I've really liked the midfield in the Champions League this season. You know, I felt like. I remember watching them against Real Madrid and like looking at them and thinking like when these three are on it, and when they know what their identity as a midfield is, and they know what they're clear in what they're sort of being asked to do, they're better than anyone. You know, we saw that last season, you know, and you know, they're so good whenever they're playing so close to each other and sort of backing each other up in those little triangles that we saw more of last season. No, I'm really happy for them. I thought McAllister was really good last night as well. I thought they all were. There's a moment where Gravenberch is just doing Gravenberch things where he wins it sort of high up the pitch, and then Liverpool are on the attack, and we're able to be forefront and a front foot, and there's space, as we've mentioned. Like, a lot of this comes down to there being space and the opposition and it being in Europe, but you know, it sets us up nicely for the rest of the games in this competition, because the midfield is going to be so important. On Szoboszlai and what he did at the weekend, that's by instruction. That, you know, we've seen Szoboszlai during Jurgen, but at different times last season, where he's able to bomb forward and he's able to make things happen on the counter, and he's able to sort of drag the team forward. You know, when he's stopping and pulling back and letting everyone get back into it, it's frustrating boss, but he's obviously been asked to do that. It was really, really nice to see the sort of shackles off last night and see Liverpool reap the benefits. Yeah, some great touches. I love the ball through to Rakitic, the one that hits the post. I think that's such a nice weighted ball, and that's really hard to do when you're in full flow, like he is, to be able to slow your body down and slow your mind down to sort of play that ball. I thought there was some lovely moments for him on top of all the things we associate with him, which is the great running and you know, physical play.
It's almost like all of the talk about his entire Liverpool career about how he's great at running and great at pressing, but does he give you any creativity? Does he give you any output? It's like, yeah, he does. Here it all is. It's like he's almost scored as many goals this season as he's got all of last season. I think he got 8 last season, he's up to 7 now. 5 assists as well. And like you say, it's not just those output moments, it's the touches, it's the vision, it's the recognising what the situation needs and being able to give it to him. And obviously we just bought this guy for 100 million quid who we expect to do all those things and is looking like he's going to be able to do all those things again and again and again. But what's going to help him is that if teams absolutely try and load up and shut him down, there's a fan next to him who's like, "Sound, I'll take on this." And it looks like he's just been freed. It was really interesting listening to Steven Gerrard talk about him last night as well, because he said that there's a certain element where he's now starting to feel like he knows how good he is. And he said that there are some times where he needs to maybe rein that in a little bit. But again, like, I feel like this is part of his development as a player, where it's kind of like what we were saying before about some players don't feel like Liverpool players straight away. Now he very much does not only feel like a Liverpool player, he's a leader in that team and he knows he's a leader in that team. And as he gets more responsibility, I think that's going to have to start to, he's going to have to start to maybe be more, concentrated, more focused in certain areas. But I don't want to nitpick. Like, he is playing fantastic football. Him and Hugo are fighting for Player of the Year already. If it's not one of those two, then something ridiculous is going to happen over the next 2 or 3 months.
It'll be fun to watch. Yeah. Whoever it is going to emerge.
And the other thing about him is, like, now teams know what he can do from sort of long range. We've seen it in the past, but this season in particular, and what that means is they can't sit off. If you're playing a team in a low block, as an example, they can't sit off. They need to attack the ball because they know he'll have a go and he has a good chance of scoring. And then what that means is Hugo Ekitiké's got more space, so there's a little space for Florian Wirtz. And so, he's a footballer that is able to contribute in those ways, but also make the others around him better and make it easier for them. And player of the season for me so far, I love Hugo Ekitike, but I think he's been so important for us this season.
Yeah, player of the season so far, but player of the month for last month's been Florian Wirtz, and I like having the two of them together. I think if you ask Florian Wirtz, he would like to play with him, so suppose they'd be up there because it is sort of an extra threat. But this idea of this box midfield, if you like, with the two of them able to attack, I thought went well last night. It might not work in every game. There might be some way you want more width and things like that. But last night I thought Szoboszlai was excellent, and I thought Florian Wirtz, when the game was in the balance at 1-0, I thought he was great in that and was a big part of us making sure that we won the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough about Szoboszlai, and I know Gerrard said he needs to stay a bit more humble, and but for me, I like that about him. I like the way he's found his confidence. I like the way he's flicking these ball back and had the brain fart against Barnsley. But for me, that's what you need in a creative player. It looks like he's thought to himself, they're signing Wirtz with his creativity. I'll show them we've already got that in the team. And they're bringing both levels together now. So when he's performing on the pitch, Wirtz is now going to have to keep up with him with that level of performances. And as you say, I really like the two of them together, and I think they've been amazing, and hopefully this partnership can continue and we can win every single game about 10-0.
That'll be great. Just on the forwards then, to finish off this part now, Ekitike does everything but score. It's a real electrifying performance from him. I don't mind the forward saving the goals if we win 3-0. Maybe the ones that hit the post that will go in for them. Maybe the one that was just offside will be just on. But he's great to watch. Salah, it's not outstanding individual performance from him, compared to what we know we can get from him. When we talk about when Mo does eventually leave, and we talk about the best 10, 50 performances from him, this one's not going to be in there. But I think just having that extra threat helped. It helped Ekitike sort of get that space, and it was just nice to have him back.
It was nice to have him back. It was nice to see him. I wasn't expecting him to be straight back into the starting lineup. I thought they might think, because of all of what's gone on in terms of physically, and also the emotional weight of getting close and falling short again with Egypt, it might have wanted to reintroduce him slowly, but so I was like, no, straight back in, lad. Let's see what you can do. And you're right, it wasn't one of his greatest performances, but I think he did still contribute. What he did is that he made sure the Marseille defenders could never rest. He was always kind of buzzing around the shoulder of the last defender. And Marseille were doing that mad thing where one of the centre-halves was running up to the field in the first half. And they had to kind of stop doing it as much in the second half, because Salah was always just a bit like, well, I'm over it. If you do that, then you're giving me space, and I'm right here, and our midfielders are good enough to try and play the ball over to me. And yeah, there were a couple of moments where a fit and firing Mo Salah probably bags 2, maybe even 3 in that game, but it's coming. we don't, like you say, we didn't need it today. So
it looked like we were playing man-to-man with them as well, and you saw that with the three towards the front, and I really liked how Salah was sort of closer to Ekitike and rather than being wide, and we talked about that and how Frimpong's able to offer the width. So you can see a way in which this works, both in terms of the now with Salah involved, and then when Isak comes back in 3 months or whatever it is, and how you're able to sort of drop him in and then be a something different for the opposition to think about. Write Mo Salah off at your peril, mate, because I think the reason why he's come in so quickly is because I think he probably enjoyed a change of environment going to the AFCON. He scored some goals. Now that they've not sort of reached the heights of what he hoped in terms of winning it, he probably needed a change of environment, come back to Liverpool, so he might enjoy being back. I fancy more goals from him over the coming weeks, I really do.
Yeah, I like the idea that Arne Slot's took one look at him and train on Tuesday when he's starting, because he probably has come back with this steely determination to make the most out of the rest of the season. He's not always been at his best when he's come back from AFCON in the past, but I think this is slightly different. It's a different season. He did have that spell out of the team just before he went away. I don't think this has been quite as arduous for Egypt as some of them. I know he's played every game, but it felt like a few years ago they got to extra time and bets every time, wasn't it? And he was sort of the talisman this time. He's got Mamouche up there who's at least able to do his running for him and a little bit more quality. And so I don't think it is going to be one of those seasons where he comes back from AFCON and never really gets going. I think because he'll have a determination to do that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I seen him in the starting lineup straight away, I was almost a little bit worried that we would get that. Remember the performance, I think it was Frankfurt, where he'd not scored, we'd scored 5. He was desperate for a goal, he was shooting from everywhere, he wanted to prove a point. I was really worried that we would have got that Mo Salah when he's come back through all the stuff that had gone on and through the AFCON. He actually gave us a really solid performance. As you say, if he was sharp, he could have bagged 2 or 3. He was in the right positions, he was passing the right balls. I was almost worried that he was going to try and score a worldie or just be selfish with the ball and try and stick it to all the fans that have said he's not got it anymore. But he actually had a really solid, mature performance and slotted into the team quite well. And I just say, hopefully in the next couple of matches, he can really be the Mo Salah, because as you say, never write him off, because he's Mo Salah. That's King Mo, isn't he?
He always loves playing against Bournemouth as well.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Does well down there. Just finally on the third goal scorer, Cody Gakpo has made up for him. He's had a tough season, and listen, he's probably played too much, but he's not picking the team. He's not selecting the squad. He's had to sort of keep going out there. There's probably times where it would have been better for everyone if he'd maybe took him out, but we're going to need him for the rest of the season. So him coming on, looking bright, nearly getting an assist for that awful Mo Salah shot, but then getting his goal as well. It's good news for Liverpool. It's good news for him.
Oh, massively made up for him. You see it in his celebration. He's just done screaming, and he does this big, primal scream again, because, he absolutely needed that in terms of his confidence, and he has had a much more difficult season after what was his best for Liverpool last season. I think what helped them last season was the fact that, he had Diaz there who he was almost competing with, who they were able to drop in, depending on who the opposition was going to be and the fullback was going to be up against. They could pick and choose who they wanted to play in that position. I think he's been a casualty of us selling Diaz, because, as you say, he's played too many minutes. It's been on him week in, week out, and in sort of weeks gone by, it's like as if he's almost run out of ideas a little bit. It's just that one thing that he tries to do. But this will do him the world of good. I do want to see a bit more of Rio sort of towards the end of the season. But then that might help him as well, because then he's not playing as many minutes. Really hope he's able to build on this, because he can be a crucial sort of player for Liverpool going forward. I just feels as if he maybe lost a bit of confidence there.
Bournemouth, they're an interesting team. They started the season really brightly, then sort of tailed off. They've obviously lost Semenyo, but there'll be a lot of respect from Liverpool in terms of what they're able to do and the threat. What have you made of them recently? How much of a blow is it, Semenyo going, and how tough a game is this for Liverpool?
It's a massive blow. Them losing Semenyo, there's no getting around it. He was their talisman by the time he got to the point of leaving, and it will be tough for them, but I think Bournemouth are one of those teams who are used to regenerating and are good at regenerating. I mean, we thought, like you say, that we thought that they'd struggle from the beginning of the season, because they pretty much sold their entire defence.
Yeah.
And then they started fantastically well. And there's a couple of guys, that young fella Creepy, who they got in. He's a player. He's another one that Liverpool have to keep a very keen eye on. And their recruitment team have been fantastic. They've brought another 2 players in over the course of this window who, hands up, I've never heard of. But I guarantee you in about 6 weeks' time, we'll be saying, oh, that's good. Why was no one else here for him? Yeah. So, yeah, they're always going to be a threat. And compared to what Liverpool face a lot in the Premier League and don't like, Bournemouth aren't really going to be... They can sometimes be defensively structured, but I wouldn't call it a low block. They always want to press you. They always want to come at you. And I think while that's good for them, because it means that they're never really out of games.
Yeah.
Even if they're 2-0 down, 3-0 down, they're still going to be out there, still trying to score, still keeping punching at you. But for Liverpool, it means that there might be more spaces to exploit. It might be not too dissimilar to what we faced against Marseille.
Virgil was interesting after the game. He talked about the travel, and it's a real reminder of how little there is between games for the coaches to work with the players. He said basically they're flying back from Marseille today and then they're flying to Bournemouth on Friday. I think it's interesting that they're looking to go Friday again. They could have gone later if they chose to, but with it being a Saturday 5:30, but they did that for Arsenal. I think they're liking making these games feel like European aways because it's being successful for us, so I get it. But it does mean that there's not much, time to work on different things. So bearing that in mind, would you be looking to pick the same team again if you can?
I think with it being Wednesday, Saturday, I don't think he will. I think they might bring someone like Jones in and make a change in midfield. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because they've obviously got a lot of confidence in this, and so you hope that they're looking at each other and going, right, I'm actually looking forward to Saturday. It's a game away from home, so it's not the same sort of trials and tribulations of playing low blocks at home and how difficult that's been for them recently. I quite fancy us a game because I've quite fancied us away from home. I fancied us against Arsenal, weirdly, on the train down, and you see in the second half they're really strong in that. So, I fancy a win from Liverpool here. I think obviously, there's going to be moments of adversity and there's going to be moments they have to suffer, and if they're able to come through those, and that's been one of the things they haven't really been able to do in games this season, then they should be okay. But it's going to be difficult to 5:30. It's all the hallmarks, It's a game in January away from home. Bournemouth is a small stadium, but it's like packs a punch whenever it gets going, and we've seen that at different times over the years. But I fancy us quietly.
Yeah, do you fancy us?
Absolutely. I think I, as you say, today we felt brighter after a win. I think on that travel schedule, I don't think I would actually change that much. I think make 1 or 2, as you say, come in. But
Curtis Jones makes sense, isn't it? Because they've rotated there anyway, generally.
Yeah, definitely. But I think what we're crying out for is Liverpool is consistent quality performances, and to do that, so such a small turnaround, I wouldn't change a hell of a lot. But I definitely do fancy us from for this match, definitely.
I think there's a couple of other reasons why I wouldn't make too many changes. One, if Liverpool are going to try to do this as a formation, it's medium term, not necessarily long term, then the more opponents you do it against, the more you can see the strengths and weaknesses of it. Because Iraola is going to have had a couple of days to have seen Liverpool play this and say, okay, well, what would we do differently to what De Zerbi did? And then you're giving them new tests to kind of solve. And hopefully Liverpool can come through those and feel a little bit more confident about themselves. I also quite like I said before about Salah, he likes Bournemouth. I quite like the idea of Gakpo as a sub. I think it was that element, the fact that the game state meant that Marseille were having to commit more space and that they were a little bit more tired. It really suited him in that particular moment. I quite like to see if that's something else that can be repeated in this game. But yeah, I do think Jones comes in. I think with McAllister, you are still at the point where you're having to probably manage his minutes a little bit. I still don't think he's back to 1,000 or 100% fitness. So it kind of makes sense. I thought he was going to come off when Jones came on last night, and the fact that he didn't makes me think that he's probably not going to start.
That's a good
Do you think they'll go the same formation? Because obviously they do it against Inter and it works well, and then probably more so to do with personnel over the coming weeks after that. Away from home, they weren't able to do it. Obviously against Arsenal, it was Wirtz up top, and you could see you really missed the Nketiah. Do you think they go similar to what they did?
Yeah, I do, because I think at the moment it's the best way to get our best players on the pitch, and I think that's been the way we forward for us this season. And I think Ekitike has to start again, and I think he will start again. I think he'll want to get Mo Salah back on the pitch, and then he'll want to play Wirtz, and I think Verts being able to sort of tuck in a little bit more, I think helps him a little bit more than use him trying to sort of create whip. And so I think it'll be fairly like for like, maybe Curtis Jones coming in for McAllister, I think is the most likely one, but that's the only one I'd do. And on the Gakpo sub, we know Ekitike, he's doing slightly better, sort of longer in games, but he still doesn't look like he's got a 90 in him. And so having someone like Gakpo can come in, who's a genuine forward option, a goal threat, hopefully some confidence from scoring, I think is a good sub to come on Ekitike, almost regardless of the match situation. Like if you need a goal and you feel like Ekitike's run out of legs, then Gakpo can sort of offer you that. But also, if hopefully we're 2-3-1 up, he can be good in that scenario as well. So I think he'd look at it that way. But I would be looking to play the same again, and whether it's, like Mo says, how far forward will he look to do this? Who knows? But I think approach it in a similar way. And it was interesting to me that you heard him straight away, the praise and the manager. Said, he's a really good manager. They did that a lot with the Serbia and beat them 3-0. I think when football teams praise managers, they're basically saying they play how we want. So, they've got a great manager, Do you know what I mean?
Brave.
Yeah. And it's like, they're basically saying, I like how he plays.
Yeah, the great
because that suits us.
Yeah.
No one's praising Steve Bruce because he's doing things that people don't like, was the main reason. Listen, there's loads more looking ahead to Bournemouth on the Tour Player app, so we'll be doing pre-match warm-up tomorrow straight after Arne Slot's press conference, which should be an interesting one, of course. And then after the game, post-match reaction, we're looking forward to that audio and video. Are we talking about what we're doing on Saturday?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, we're doing a live... Neil doesn't want to call it a watch-along, so it's a live commentary, a bit like the old hot mic that we used to do, where we're going to be doing it before the game, during the game, and then straight into the post-match pint live and the ratings live with little adverts in between. You might know a little bit more than me on this. Okay. I'm looking at you thinking you're going to jump in. Yeah, so it's going to be done from the Monroe, so it's in the pub, which is very Anfield Wrap rather than the studio, and yeah, I think given that...
An open pub, by the way. It's not a closed set.
This is just getting close to Neil's live TV. Do you know this idea live TV that he wants to do? But obviously with Bournemouth being a smaller allocation, it's harder to get away tickets and so on. So this felt like the perfect sort of way to try out. And loads of people off the back of the pandemic had asked to bring Hot Mike or Hot Michael back. So this is the opportunity. So no, we'll see. I was about to say it should be good. I don't know what it's going to be like. But we're going to give it a go.
Tune in to watch. It's very us. We're giving it a go for the first time. We're doing 4 hours in a pub.
4 hours?
Yeah. There's not shut. So there we are. That's us. So join us on Saturday. Could be bad.
The other thing, just the Australia and New Zealand. So we'll do Ireland as well. There's still some tickets left for Belfast, for Derry. There's only a couple for Derry, and for Limerick. Dublin sold out. That's at the beginning of February. Excited? I
am. I'm really looking forward to it. It's coming together really well. We've not done Limerick before. Always like going to a new place. Not done Derry before.
Big crowds in both of them. Big crowds.
Yeah, done over 200 in Limerick, which was nice. Dublin's obviously sold out. Going for burgers before, really looking forward to that. That's all sorted. All booked in. Nice one for them for sorting that. And then, Derry. Jesus, Jerry.
Jesus. And I've put it on the itinerary. The Derry girls mural is right in the corner on the wall. So,
so we're going to do a photo shoot.
And then Australia and New Zealand, there's tickets for all the shows. So they are at the end of March. You can get all these tickets at the anfieldwrap.com/tall-eyed. It's Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, and Auckland. First time in New Zealand. So get on them.
There we go. Do join us on Saturday on YouTube. It should be fun. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Download the app if you want loads more. I'm looking forward to the review, actually, and see what the guys made of the game last night. That's going to be really interesting. It was one of the first things I thought of this morning because I'm sad like that. So looking forward to the review later to what they made of the shape. It looked very different in and out of possession. I heard Craig have a little go at man-to-man before, and I was like, get on, but if you want the real thing, that is available.
Some pretender.
that will be available for TAW subscribers later as well. There's a 5 things with Beth and Neil. Loads of reasons to download the app. You'll get some tokens if you're not done that already, that you can give things a go. And then Saturday, post-match reaction up to Reds. But thanks a lot to Jack, to Mo and to Craig, for Andy and Jordan for making everything happen that you've listened to or watched. Have a beautiful day. The sun's always shining when the Reds are winning.